Imagine if you did the kind of work that brought you incredible amounts of joy and absorbed your interests and captured your attention. And for others, felt that type of work felt tedious, disinteresting, maybe boring, intimidating. How does one continue to express joy and enroll other people in that joy? Today's special guest, and I'll tell you about her in just a moment, we'll talk exactly about how she expresses joy in ways that for others may not be the most joyful way, the most joyful option. Welcome, everyone, to Your Time to Come Alive. It's our weekly podcast, an opportunity to have conversations that are conscious, where you hopefully will be more connected and creative as a result. Every week, I have a wonderful opportunity to interact with beautiful, interesting, fascinating people to bring a different perspective to how to live life fully. If you'd like to subscribe to this channel and make sure that you get any notifications of new posts, please go to the Connect to Joy YouTube channel or go to www.timetocomealive.com and subscribe there, and you'll go straight to your inbox. Now, for my very special guest, her name is Alison Reiff-Martin. And Alison, you and I met, I can't believe this, but it's been 2 years already.
I know, right?
We met at a Starbucks.
Isn't that where everybody meets?
Shout out to Starbucks. But, well, at the time, I was just starting my own business and growing, and I was doing some networking, and I remember meeting Susanna, our common friend, through a chamber event. And we decided to meet up and bring other people along so that we could continue to expand and grow, especially as entrepreneurs. And so she brought you, and she said, this is my friend Alison. She's a CPA. She has great energy. I remember she described you as being so friendly. And I'm like, CPA, great energy. No offense, CPAs. Really, no offense. But I'm like, doesn't she have better things to do than hang out at a Starbucks for an hour? And sure enough, we really clicked. I can't say, not only was she with Susanna right about your personality, but also you have a love for the work you do. I've actually worked with you myself. You give me lots of wonderful guidance and feedback. And I'm so grateful that you said yes to being on A Time to Come Alive today. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate the opportunity. And you just made me think, everybody's stereotype of the CPA is this. Why did the CPA cross the road?
Why?
To bore people on the other side.
Oh. So for those of you that don't know, certified public accountants are responsible for what?
We're responsible, typically what a lot of people think we're responsible for is tax preparation, making sure that you're properly reporting your income tax to the IRS. We're responsible for financial reporting, helping you keep your books in shape, helping you be an advisor to you to help you make sure that you can help grow your firm. So it's a whole wealth of what everyone thinks is accounting as intimidating. It is. I'm not saying it's not, but you need us to help you figure out how to make sure that you can go do the fun things you like to do. Like you like to do training. You don't really like to do accounting because it's just a bunch of, numbers in a bowl kind of a thing. That's what you need me for so that you can go out and do the fun stuff. And to me, the numbers in a bowl is a lot of fun.
Numbers in a bowl. I love it. I love it. And I'll say this. Over the last maybe 8 months or so, I have even probably a year now actually, have been doing a lot of work around my own connection to money and finances, because that was the area that I was most intimidated by when I became an entrepreneur, that I would actually have to manage my books and figure out how to use QuickBooks and all these different tools that I was not familiar with. And I have to say that our conversations, and even when they were just a quick, hey, what do I do here with QuickBooks, or what are some tools that I should be paying attention to, or things that I should be using, were always really light and fun. So And not to say that there aren't that there are not other CPAs like you that experience joy in the bowl of numbers. But where does that joy come from? How is it that you connected to the exact thing that brought you so much pleasure?
Well, so this will be a funny and I don't even want to say embarrassing experience, but it's
Ooh, I
a
like those.
exactly right. Kind of lean in. We're all like, "Ooh, tell me more." Well, so I actually went to Indiana University back in the '80s for in that time what you call just the business degree. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just knew I liked numbers, and mom and dad said get a degree in business because that's what everybody did, and that's how you'll find a job. Well, somehow I kept going back to accounting, and I liked it because there was an answer. And what I liked was if you knew what the answer was, how did you get the answer? So if the number was 4, was it 5 less 1 equals 4? Was it 2 times 2 equals 4? Was it 3 plus, there's a whole myriad of ways you can get to the number 4 or whatever the answer was. And how did you get there? And I liked the puzzle element of it and trying to tell the story of how did you get to 4? And what if five less 1 is 4 was the right answer, well, great. Why is that the right answer? Trying to explain the story through numbers. It also helped that when I was taking this intermediate accounting class that really sealed the deal, I had this really, really, really great looking professor. And he wasn't just good looking, he had a great voice, and I just loved listening to him talk. And I would figure out every single way possible to go see him at office hours. And what I realized is I would be the creepy girl if I went and just stared at him, and he'd be like, so I thought, well, you got to come with legitimate reasons to come talk to him. Well, so I would make up everything to talk about, and he made accounting come alive. Now,
I bet he did.
he sure did. Now, whether he knows that I had a major crush on him, I don't know that part.
You want to give him a shout out, Allison?
Professor Mike Tiller, my gosh.
Mike Tiller, you said?
Yes, Mike Tiller.
All
Woo.
right, Professor Mike. There you go.
Yeah,
Shout out to you.
right.
Look what you brought to the world. A happy, joyful CPA because of your
Exactly.
office hours.
Exactly. Well, so anyway, and I mean, I guess that's kind of been the theme through my career is like the more questions you get to ask, the more you get to understand, which means you get to do a better job helping your client understand how to, use their numbers to their advantage or to, grow their firm the way they want to grow or do what they want to do. So anyway, I think it's just been a common theme, and he really solidified the deal. And what I ended up looking for in jobs was it fun? Because again, like the stereotype, and they are right, accounting is boring as a process, but it's what you do with the accounting that makes it a fun job. Because anybody can do bookkeeping, anybody can do a tax return, but you have to understand why you're doing it to be able to do it correctly. And I can't do it correctly if I don't understand your story.
I think that's true for pretty much any job you can describe, right?
Right.
It's not the role itself, it's really who we are while we're doing that role. What
Right.
do we bring to it? How can we bring it to life, in other words?
Right.
Fascinating. Yeah, my sister-in-law, Eva, you may have, I don't think you've met her, but she's been on the podcast a couple of times. And she has a gift for organizing things. She organizes either electronic things or organizes spaces. And it's the most tedious thing I could ever think of doing with my life in my time. But she
Exactly.
brings a level of mindfulness and peace to it. It takes me a little bit to get there, but once I'm there, it's like, oh yeah, actually this is a way for me to create space and order and really emphasize the things that I love. And I
Right.
think that's what you're expressing. And in our conversation, although we've only worked together a couple of very, limited opportunities, I really got clear on, well, what is my purpose for doing things like this? And what is it that I would like for this to do for me? And
Right.
being able to tie those things together, I think I like to find the purpose and meaning in anything I do. And I wasn't able to do that with numbers. And I think our conversations, and I've worked with a few other people too, and just understanding how to connect to money and processing money and the processes of
Right.
organizing that way. When you're working with other people who might bring the kind of energy that I just described, like, oh yeah, there we go again.
Yeah.
What do you find are some of the things that people struggle with the most when working through their numbers?
Well, what I think, and I found this with a lot of clients who come on board, that nobody spent the time explaining to them what the numbers mean. They just hand them an income statement and say, here you go. Well, what does that mean? And they won't. What I think has been really helpful for a lot of businesses is it's not about what the static number is today. It's what was it yesterday and how did you get from yesterday to today? What's kind of the trends that you're like, oh, you know, revenue's going down. Why is it going down and how can I fix that? What kind of steps can I put in place? And I think that's what, my over 30 years of experience has taught me. It isn't what it's again, the answer is 4. Well, how did you get to 4? And do you want to stay at 4? If you want to go to 5, well, what do you need to do to get to 5? And you were making me think. One of the books I really kind of helped me solidify where I wanted to go was Peter Margaritis's, he's known as the accidental accountant. Kind of like he couldn't figure out why he wanted to be an accountant, but that's what he fell into. He's actually a comedian, but he wrote this book called How to Take the Numb Out of Numbers.
How to take the what out of numbers?
The numb.
The numb.
As in, and I mean, it's like a nice pun, but it's true. It's like, if I show you the number 5, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, what is that? Well, if I can explain to you the story behind it, well, then you're like, oh, you mean if I do this, I could get to 6? Or whatever direction you want to go. But, I think there's where the joy is taking the numb out of numbers and making it come alive for you so that you're like, oh, that's why I need, this number to help grow my business, so that you can do the fun, whatever you consider the fun stuff as to why you got into business,
I get that. Taking the numb. I get it. Okay, so think back to a story that you've shared with one of your clients about their numbers. And I know there's likely things that you're not able to share because of confidentiality. But I want you to tell us a story. Tell us the story of the numbers, or how you brought the numbers to life for one of your clients.
Well, actually, I will probably think back to my very first job out of grad school. I got a job working for I was the news and engineering business manager for KCNC News 4 in Denver, Colorado. And again, this goes back to, this was where it really solidified to me. It's not about the job, it's about the business that you're in. And the director of engineering, in the interest of selfishly protecting his budget, because my job was to help him manage his budget, he took me on a tour of all the broadcast towers throughout the state of Colorado. I had no idea that that's what it took for me to be able to watch TV. Without a broadcast tower, you couldn't see television. He let me help out with the state high school championship production that they aired on TV. Well, how did that really help me to explain at the end of the year how they got to where they were to be under budget, how to propose a budget for next year? Well, getting to learn that stuff. And he helped me learn how to explain why his salary was this and why was that. And it made it fun to sit there and think, oh, TV, and the bills would come through and you were like, well, that's why I'm paying for that bill. Oh, boy, they charge too much for this. Or, hey, I can ask questions to make it, again, to help him protect his budget. Same with the news guy. He, obviously I was never going to learn to be a director or anything, but he let me sit on a couple of newscasts just to see how they did it. And it really impressed upon me. You can't account for what you don't know what you're accounting for. And it just made it more interesting. And I've tried to carry that throughout my career. So that's, it was really helpful to me to be, it helped me learn how to be able to explain stuff, numbers to a client, or, a market president or a general manager or somebody throughout my entire career. So they're not just like, it's 5. So what does that mean? You know, I could tell you why it was 5 and what you need to do to get it to 6 if that was your goal.
Yeah. Well, so that's clear in the professional setting, right? Because there are so many things that go into creating a business. It sounds like when you learn how the sausage is made on TV,
Yeah.
that so many things started falling into place. I'm curious about in your family, in your own family life, what does a CPA look like in a household?
Well, you know, my husband actually is in MIS too, so we're kind of in the same, you know, in the box kind of a thing. So, and it's funny, my mother-in-law is an accounting professor. His dad, my father-in-law, is a finance professor. And we always kind of laughed who was ahead, who was behind. And I don't know, it kind of helps you again think it just makes it fun, I guess. And what my kids have come to realize is they will never in their lifetime want to be a CPA because there's a lot of detail work behind it. But man, they have an appreciation for how hard and how important the job is. You know?
Yes.
Or like, you know, I'm always the one who's asked about tax planning or tax returns from my brothers and my mom and dad. And I mean, you know, I will actually say, especially as my parents have gotten older, they finally this year let me help them prepare their tax return this year. And they're like, you know, I've been doing this for who knows how long, that, you know, and what I came to realize, and this year solidified it, is how many CPAs treat their clients as a return or an assignment. They don't treat them as the whole package. Like they don't, so the previous CPA that was doing their books or doing their return for them basically said, here's your return, give me my money, see you next year. Well, they didn't ask any questions about, like, you know, mom and dad were getting a refund and then but at the same time having to pay the state income tax. Well, there's a way to shift stuff around so that either they didn't pay any, you know, that the net was 0, but the guy didn't ask. He basically just said, here's your return, see ya. And that, I was like, what an opportunity this guy's missing out on to really help, selfishly, my mom and dad. But if he's doing that to mom and dad, who else is he not helping? You know, like you're missing a golden opportunity to learn more about their business so that you can help them and, you know, grow their business or keep their money or whatever their goal is. But it was like, dang, dude, why didn't you ask him questions? And it made me mad to think how many other people do this, and what a privilege I have to help you figure out your numbers so that you can do whatever you want. You know.
And how many of your clients are business owners or families? Do you have a breakdown?
I think it's about 50-50.
Okay. Interesting.
And, you know, I mean, and I like to spend a lot of time with each of them. You know, you could be a small client, you could be a big client. You all get the same deal because someday that small client could be like a big one. And more importantly, I didn't get into this just to do your return. I got into this because I like talking to you. I like learning about stuff. I like figuring out how I can connect you with the right thing or whatever the right thing is so that you can be successful.
Got it. Now, I know you have 2 kids, right? How old are they?
My daughter, Lydia, is 20. She's going to be 21 in January. Vegas, here we come.
She's not taking you to Vegas. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I told her we're going to Vegas or we're doing something. I will be there to help her celebrate her 21st birthday.
Okay. She's like, Mom, what do you mean we are going to Vegas?
Yeah, exactly, right?
Your daughter's 20.
And my son, Ethan, is 17, and he is going to be a senior in high school next year. Lydia's going to be a junior in high school. So, yeah, and then my husband.
In college.
Junior college, and he'll be a senior in high school. So.
Oh, fabulous. All right, so what are you teaching them? Clearly, you said that they would likely not be CPAs. But what do you find yourself teaching them or impressing upon them throughout their lives as they're becoming more and more independent?
You know, and I learned this from my parents too. You want to figure out how to get it. You know, no one's, you know, like my parents opened up a lot of doors, but I had to walk through them. You know, I had to, if I wanted the job, well, they weren't going to give it. They weren't going to just give it to me. Or if I wanted to go out and get a new something, figure it out. You know, obviously would give guidance, but it was, you want it, go for it. Don't sit around and wait. Don't sit around and just say, I wish I had. Go do it. You know, like I grew up in a small town in Ohio, and when the opportunity to move to New York City came, it was like, you want to do it, go for it. And I moved out by myself, figured out where to live and all that great stuff. And I'm hoping that's what my kids are learning too. You want it, go do it. Figure it out. You know, mom and dad aren't always going to be here to help you.
To go after what they want.
Right.
Got it.
I'm hoping that's what they're learning anyway. And hard work pays off.
We'll see what happens when your daughter takes selfies in Vegas.
Yeah, standing beside her with my arm around her.
You're gonna go. You will go.
I have the photo bomber. I'm going.
Don't tell her you're going. Just show up. What do you teach your kids about money?
That it's very important to save it, and again, you know, if you want to go out and get something, well, how are you going to do it? You need to have money to do it. You know, and that, you know, life is about choice. If you really want to spend money on a cup at Starbucks, well, great, do it, but recognize that you might not be able to do something else, like, I don't know, a pedicure or saving for some kind of trip somewhere. It's all about choice.
So that's what they're able to feel more empowered around money because of that. They can make choices.
Right.
How about organizing their money? Like what kind of skills do two children of an MIS and CPA, all the initials in the accounting world, what do they walk away with when they're on their own?
Well, you know, it's funny. They both have different methods of doing, and it's taken I think my daughter longer to learn the benefit of saving money. Like, it's all of a sudden, you know, when you had it, it was like, well, go out and spend it. Well, now she's like, maybe I really do need to be, you know, an adult and save. And it's been rewarding to see her come home and say, Mom, guess how much money I have saved in the bank? And you're like, see how relaxing, how much better you feel, because you know you have the money, because you know your goal is to, whatever it is your goal is. I mean, and then my son, he just socks it all away. And so he'll be able to, you know, I don't know what he wants to do with his money really, but he knows how to sock it away.
So you've raised two savers, it sounds like.
One's taken longer. My daughter's taken longer to get there, but I would hope so. So.
Are you and what category? I know that Dave Ramsey talks about the the nerd and the free spirit. Have you heard of this distinction? Yeah. So
yeah.
Which of those two, or is there something in the spectrum that you want to use to?
I feel like you know what I will actually say. I feel like it depends on where you are in your stage of life. You know, at some point you're a free spirit with money versus a saver, and it's taken me a while to figure out, you know, the balance, because you know money is just a tool, and it's what do you want to use it for. So what I will say that I have appreciated about this pandemic, where we've had to be, you know, sheltering in place, man, my cooking is actually more my husband's cooking has improved. So I've gotten to really enjoy, like, you know, eating at home, and I've learned how to perfect a perfect cup of coffee, so I don't have to spend, you know, $4 to $6 on a cup of coffee somewhere, and it's something I really like. You know, that's been kind of nice to figure out, and I think my kids have kind of enjoyed that too, realizing you don't need to go to Starbucks every day for a cup of coffee. Or anyway, that's been the nice little side benefit of the unfortunate pandemic. So
yeah, so some more quality time, quality food.
Exactly.
Good. You know, it's interesting to think about what we value. We often use different adjectives, you know, you know, we value trust, or we value honesty, or there's these concepts. But I've always found that if we want to know what someone's values are, check their calendar. Where do they spend their time? check their bank account. Where do they spend their money?
Exactly. What do
Right?
they say? Where your treasure is, your heart will follow. And it really is true.
Yeah. Yes. And I think there's a third one. I can't remember what the third one is, but I'm curious, where do you spend your money? Like when you really think about it, obviously now you're eating more at home because of the pandemic, but when you think about where Allison splurges, where you really go balling out, where do you spend the money? Where do you think that value of money comes to play?
Where does money come into play?
Yeah.
Um, I feel like money comes into play in being, I sometimes feel like I'm a caretaker. Like, how can I take care of you? I'd much rather spend it on you. And I think a lot of moms do that, or just women in general do that. We want to take care of.
Mm,
So, like, I'd much rather spend my money on, taking you out for a pedicure, to do something we can do together, or, you
mm.
know, having if I know my husband's the most amazing cook ever, and he is the most amazing cook ever, I would like to buy him, the tools so that he can make me the most amazing food, so that we can take, that. I guess I just like to be a caretaker. So that's
I'm
how I.
so glad you said that because yes, let's go do something. I would be happy for you to take care of any.
Yeah, exactly right. I will say that's the best thing I like to actually go do is go get a pedicure, because there's just something about just spending an hour feeling beautiful, and I get to do something with you rather than sitting around drinking a cup of coffee. It's more, and then we can go something together we both enjoy, or
Got
or
that.
sit at home and watch a movie or something. So,
See, we got it all wrong. Those times that we were meeting at Starbucks with that group, we had a group called, I think, was it Bold and Beautiful? It was like all women and entrepreneurs getting together, sharing ideas. And we met for about, I would say close to a year, if not
yeah,
about a year.
seems like it.
And we would just go find a coffee shop to hang out. We should have been going to pedicures. We should have had you taking care of us.
Exactly right. Exactly.
That's awesome. I have, it's funny because when I look at my own calendar, if I look at my bank account, what I tend to spend the most money on are two things. Food, meaning
And I think that's what we all do.
but yeah, but I found that it's not something that I skimp on. I don't just go, I go to different places for different types of food. I'm much more conscious about the kind of food and the quality that I get. Nothing like, I'm not talking deli counters, take my food out, but I'm talking ingredients. I like to cook. So I also, like your husband, will probably enjoy getting something that will help me do that even better. But the biggest, I would say the biggest ticket items are usually around learning. I will spend money on a class, on coaching, on a book, I mean, I would say pretty much every week you could find me learning something. And it doesn't necessarily have to cost money, but it definitely, you'll see my time and my money go to those two things most, yeah, most often.
Hence the reason you're a coach, that you like to, so you have the skills so that you can impart the knowledge to help your clients be better leaders, or be better, whatever it is their goals, so that they can, because I mean, honestly, you do the same thing I do. It's how do you get to what your goal is? It's not with numbers, it's with the skill set, so that I can go out and be a better leader. If
Yeah.
that's what I want,
Hmm.
I mean, we do the same thing, it's just different ways.
They're different. Yeah, exactly. We take care of another part of you take care of another part of existing, right? Of the family. When you think about your childhood and your upbringing, right? You have a family chock full of of numbers, people, sounds like.
Yeah.
What did you want to do when you were a kid? Do you remember what that
Well,
profession was?
it's funny. I wanted to be a French teacher.
A French teacher.
Yes. And
Why French?
well, I took French from seventh grade up to well, actually, I made it through, I was going to major in French in college until I got to advanced French grammar and realized I do not want to be a French teacher, because and well, I can't, I guess it kind of goes back to like why I really liked Professor Mike Tiller. He had a voice, and there is something to me about the French language that just, it's the voice. And I remember I can't think what his name was, but this guy was reading, I took a French poetry class, and he was reading Victor Hugo to us. And Victor Hugo's poetry, if you've never read it, is mostly about death. but God, that man's voice was sexy as he was reading, you know. And I was like, oh, I am just in love. Like, wow. And then, like I said, I got to advanced French grammar. I was like, nope, I'm not going to be successful at this, and I'm not good at it. You know, but it gave me the appreciation for the gift of language. And then I came back to accounting, you know, again. But anyway, so that was my goal in life. And, you know, I came to realize too, I am not a great teacher of a large group. I'm a great teacher of an individual one-on-one kind of thing. And that in order to be a French teacher or whatever teacher, you need to be in front of a large group of people. And I'm not good at that.
I see. So you know that your strength was really in the more personal connection with
Right.
people. I get that. I get that. And yeah, there's something about voices.
I don't know what it is. It's just.
Does your husband have a sexy voice?
Yeah, actually. Hey, I would hope so.
Victor Hugo to me.
So.
if someone can make death sound sexy.
Exactly.
Whoa.
Well, as he's handing me a piece of bread, like, ooh, here you go.
Shout out to your husband. What's your husband's name?
Phil Martin. And
Sorry?
he is Phil Martin.
Phil Martin.
Yes. So, and he originally is from Wyoming, and he's like I think I told you, he opened my eyes to a lot of music I never thought I would like. He opened my eyes to a lot of great food. He opened my eyes to a lot of great experiences that I would never have tried had I not known him.
Really? Okay. Now you got to brag on Phil Martin a little bit. So what was the biggest eye-opening experience? Well, no, hang on. let me rephrase that. what was something that you learned as a result of being in a relationship with him?
I can't fix what I don't know is broken. And if you don't tell me that something's wrong, well, then I can't fix it. And so, you know, if I have upset you, tell me, and then I'll see if I can figure out how to fix it, or not, or what. But I'd much rather know that, you know, I made you mad for something, or whatever, you know, rather than me wondering, well, why are you mad at me, you know? And so to him it was like learning, speak up. Now obviously don't be mean and jerk about it, but just like, you know, pick up the milk, you know, or whatever, is kind of a thing. And that was really a great thing to learn from him. And then also he's great at linear thinking. So like, how do you get from A to C? Well, I learned how to, you know, not veer off, just stay steady on the course.
Interesting. Yeah, I think men have a knack for teaching women that. Asking for what they need, ask for it nicely, right? So they're able to actually provide it, and often they do want to fix it. They want to help. They want to take care, provide. But yes, asking for what we need is usually a challenge for many women.
Right.
Fascinating. Well, good for him. Good job, Phil Martin. I'm glad that you taught Alison that, and then helping you get from A to B, like how to in a linear way. When you think about some of the greatest challenges that you face in your career, for example, what comes to mind? What are some of the most difficult times or moments?
Well, it took me a long time in my career to realize that, and here's why I really wanted to end up working for myself, was about 6 months in. If you remember, I told you accounting's boring as a process. Well, I found it difficult working for people who didn't want you to step outside your lane. Like, I wanted to do more, but for whatever reason, the opportunity wasn't there. They didn't want me to. I didn't want to, you know, who knows what the whole reason was, but those were the biggest challenges, to just like sit there and think, all right, fine, your choice is you stay and be okay with being in your lane, or you go figure out something different. And that was it. It's kind of like what made me end up deciding going to become a CPA was, you know, I did it all backwards. I got my undergrad, worked for 5 years, got my master's degree, and then 15 years later, sat for my CPA exam. And the reason I ended up doing it was, you know, I thought all my career, you know, after I got my master's degree, everybody would think, wow, this is awesome. Alison has a master's in accounting. And when I wanted to get my controller position, all the recruiters said, well, where's your CPA license? And I said, well, look at my resume. It's pretty darn awesome. Look at the master's degree. Look at this. They're like, and where's the CPA license? And after hearing that enough times, I was like, all right, fine. I will sit for the stupid, the test. And they were so right. It really opened up so many doors and so many opportunities for me to be willing to just say, fine, I will just do it, So it was, so that plus, just the whole idea of not wanting to figure out how to get out of my lane really was, it goes back to, I want it, go figure out how to do it.
How do you tell, in your case, when you're working with an organization or with a client that wants you to state, look, you're just preparing taxes, or you're just doing this, and you're keeping you in that box or in that lane? What do you say? How do you express to them your needs in those situations?
Well, I try asking them questions like, hey, I know, because obviously if a client wants me to just do a tax return, well, sure, I can help you do that. I love doing that. I mean, I would never say no to doing that. What I guess I meant was I would love to do more for you. So I will sit there and say, hey, I noticed that this was on your tax return. Why is that? And then they'll start telling me the story, and then I'll be thinking, how can I help you figure out how to not have that on your tax return? Or how can we figure out how to have more of that on your tax return? Or whatever, or in your books, hey, it really is just by asking questions and being interested and curious.
If you had it all your way, Allison, and every single client that you had was really maximizing your gifts and talents, what would your work look like? What would your ideal work, whether that's the work environment, the projects that you'd be on, the kind of conversations you would have, what would that ideal work look like?
Well, like I maybe said before, I have 30 years of experience from staff accountant up to a CFO type of role. So something where you want me to partner with you to help grow. I mean, again, I don't want to just do your tax return. I don't want to just do your books. I want to be able to help you be successful in whatever your answer is. So like,
All right, time out. So how about I invite you to say what you do want, not what you don't want. So what would you want to do? If you don't want to be the tax returner, you don't want to just do the books, what exactly would you like?
I would like to be your everything.
Wow. That's like a New Kids on the Block song. I'll be your everything.
I know, that seems so.
But be specific. What would it look like if you were doing what you would love and what you're most gifted at?
Well, I would be most gifted at, taking all of your finances and putting it into a neat little box so that I can tell you your story. And then I can say, well, is your story a romance novel, a mystery, or a science fiction? It doesn't matter what the answer is, are you okay with that as your answer? If you want it to be the romance novel, well, and right now it's a murder mystery, well then how do we get you to the romance novel? That's what I want to do. And that's what I've been fortunate enough to have some clients that have given me the great opportunity to help them turn their books from the murder mystery into, a romance novel. And it's been fun trying to figure out the many ways to help them do that. Like the pandemic really provided a great opportunity to partner with my clients and help them figure out how to apply for the payroll protection loan or the EIDL loan or the grant, or what's the best way to do it, and what's the best way to use the money to make sure that we're within the confines of the rules, but it helps maximize your opportunity to keep your business going, or give you enough to just help you stave off the crisis.
Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, turning your numbers from murder mystery to a romance novel. You got to say more about that. What constitutes a financial murder mystery? Let's start there.
Well, if you look at like your cash flow, and you can see that you have consistently cash flow from operations being consistently negative, what does that tell you? You're either not bringing in enough money, or you're spending too much money. What do you do to fix it? how do you want it to be from negative to a positive? Well, that is an eye-opening experience for clients to be like, I did not know that, and so just to spend the time to say, and not just for me to say, look, here it's negative, it's, I'm concerned that this is negative and here's why. If you don't fix this, you're going to be out of money in X number, there's going to be no business, or you're going to lose clients, or you're not going to have the resources to provide the great service to clients that you want. And it's so that, it's been fun to do that, and it's been interesting with some of my clients to learn how to present it in a way that it's not like do it or you're going to die. It's, here's the problem, here's why I'm concerned, or or what numbers to key in on, so that they're like, oh, Alison really knows her stuff, and she's only trying to help us figure it out.
Got it. Yeah, if you tell them, hey, you're going to die, there's no real mystery.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
Murder. What has been the reaction when you've pointed out to someone who was not aware how dire their situation was? What's the impact and the reaction you get?
Actually, I will say it was really pretty positive. They were like, and it was, I wasn't necessarily part of all the intimate conversations, but it opened their eyes to, like, here's the things we can do on, rent, operating expenses, this, that, and the other stuff, or here's what we need to go after collections more, or we need to do something. It's, they've appreciated, I don't know, it kind of goes back to where my husband was teaching me, I can't fix what I don't know is broken, helping to show them, if you don't fix this, it is still going to be broken, kind of thing.
Okay, now talk to us about the defining characteristics of a romance novel in one's numbers. What does that look like?
Well, again, it goes back to the idea of your cash flow. If your cash flow from operations is positive, there's the romance. You have an opportunity to focus on the real things that you want to do with your business.
Give us an example. Like, think about, again, keeping the confidentiality in place. What are some of the things that you've seen in perhaps different industries, or what would constitute a romance novel, or how someone came from a murder mystery to a romance novel in their books? I love that analogy, by the way. I'm going to use it all the time.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah. So tell us a story about that.
Well, so I guess the romance novel would be, if you think right now, the healthcare industry. They are a great romance novel. They have a problem, or they're trying to solve a problem. The problem is, how do you provide vaccines for develop vaccines for the coronavirus? So you go out and you find investors who believe you have the ability to, not just produce the vaccine, but help, provide enough to the masses so that we're all protected. Well, there's the romance. The problem, marry up the two partners and come up with this great solution. That to me is a great romance right there. But it's in other industries too. But think TV, which apparently nobody's watching anymore. Like, how do you pivot so that you can get more people to watch your show? Well, then you figure out other avenues like social media, or Netflix, or Hulu, or YouTube, or whatever. It's like, how do you pivot? That is a great idea of a romance novel.
Got it. And are you helping people do that, make the pivot, or how do they come up with whatever the pivot is, the most appropriate pivot to get to the romance?
Well, they can, if they'll say, here's my problem, and they'll say, here's what I'm thinking, and be like, I'll say, well, okay, great. They'll say, what do you think I need to do to get to that? And obviously, I can't give you the operational aspect of it, but I can say, well, if you want to do that, look at this trend. Here's what you need to do to shift. Your your broadcast television revenue is going down, but try and see if you can get into Netflix, and you'll see it go up, or whatever. But that's the kind of stuff you would discuss with your clients.
So you'd ideate with them ways in which they can get
right
pivot into a better revenue. Got it.
Right.
Fascinating. Okay. I've started doing this. I did this in my last podcast episode, and I kind of liked it. I have this game called We're Not Really Strangers.
Which we are not really strangers, so.
We are not really strangers, which is great. But they're basically sets of questions, And I'd like for you to, there's different cards. I just picked a selection of cards randomly. I'd like for you to pick a card, and then I will read the question to you and we'll answer it. So
Pick the fifth one in.
the fifth one in from this side?
Yes.
All right, let's see. 3, 4, 5. This one right here. Okay, I'm going to show you the question so you know I'm not cheating. What does it say?
You've shown me about myself. Okay.
Okay, so now you have to answer this. Valerie, you've shown me blank about myself.
You've shown me that I really do like to tell stories through numbers.
Okay. I think you
to
already...
turn it into that romance novel.
Hey. I appreciate you bringing romance and sexy voices to numbers. I mean, who would have thought,
right?
The conversation would go that way. All right, I'm going to pick one here too. All right. It says, what do you think my superpower is? All right, I think your superpower is, well, clearly we're talking about it right now. But I think besides just your skill and your ability to create this beautiful relationship and knowledge around numbers, is you're really kind and lighthearted, and in an area where people experience, and in my case, I can speak for myself, so much insecurity and uncertainty and perhaps even fear when things, we're not certain about how to fix certain things. You bring such a peace and joy to it. It just makes it easier to sit and have a conversation about something that could be a murder mystery in some cases.
Exactly, right?
It really does. And I think being able to confront those things make all the difference, especially in an area where nowadays people are experiencing such lack of control, with the economy the way it's going and the job market and the lack of opportunities that they seem to expand every day. I really appreciate that about you and exercising your superpower to support others.
Oh, thank you. I was going to say, I've actually been told that it's like, yeah, I'm really patient, but you've had to learn. But I will probably say too, I'm a middle child. Middle children have to learn to be the negotiator and the patient one and all that great stuff. So
I don't know if I would say I'm the middle child as well. I have an older brother and have 2 younger brothers who are twins.
Oh, okay.
I'm the only girl, so I attribute most of my my birth order stuff is probably more than because I'm the only girl. But it's all good stuff. Alison, as we are wrapping up, what are some things that you'd like for us to be left with in everything that you do, or something that you think would be helpful for the audience to know?
Well, excuse me. First off, thank you so much for having me on this podcast. I've really been looking forward to this, and like I told you, you're so much fun to talk to, and really just like I would love to go have a pedicure with you. So it's fun. It's more fun than sitting around having a cup of coffee. But
done.
I think what I'd love people to know is I would just love to help you. And I can't do your plumbing, but I can sure shoot fire, help you fix your books. So that it turns into the romance novel or the action thriller or whatever it is your goal is. And, I want to be your partner.
Lovely. And how do people get a hold of you or connect with you?
So if you want to reach out to me on my website, reiff-martincpa.com, and then my email address is Alison, ALISON, at Reiff-Martin Accounting, and that's spelled REI, F as in Frank, F as in Frank, MARTIN accounting.com. I would love to talk with you and help you out.
Fabulous. And no worries, if you guys did not catch the website or the email, I'll make sure to put that in the show notes so you can click right on that link.
Oh, perfect.
And, yeah, make it easy for people.
Exactly.
I know that you do events for business people often, and you have a group that you started with Susanna, actually. So
yep.
What are those events, if there's any coming up, or they're maybe moved online, and how are people to get involved in those?
Well, last year I did my very first in-person CPA conference, and it was really fun. Amy Vetter, I think I was telling you, was there. She was our keynote speaker, and the topic was client advisory services, which is where CPAs need to move themselves beyond thinking just the return or just the books. Like, how can we help you? So in August, I am putting on a webinar where Samantha Mansfield, who she is pretty prominent in the CPA profession. She's got lots of articles posted in Journal of Accountancy. And then Jean Blanton, who is the Chief Relationship Officer of Capital Works. And the three of us are going to be talking about client advisory services. It's got CPE credit, which I know a lot of us CPAs value, and it's, I think it's a great way to learn more about how we can pivot our practice to be more of a, some people say that we are first responders. I don't know that I would go that far, but we have been, pretty helpful in trying to help a business navigate through the pandemic crisis and how to, like I said, the PPP loan or the whatever, but how to learn more to be more of a value to our clients than just a return or just a bookkeeper.
Lovely. So if you want to get out of the rat race of transactions with your books and your numbers, this is the place to go and the people to connect with.
Right.
Fabulous, fabulous. Oh man, Alison, thank you so much. It's been such a joy, as always, to chat with you about something that you enjoy. And please, you guys, if you're interested in more information, I will, like I said, I'll put the email and the website on the show notes. Go ahead and click there, and you can connect directly with Alison, and she can turn your murder mystery into a romance novel or an action thriller. I think action thriller is kind of fun too.
Well, thank you again. I've really enjoyed this.
I'm glad you did fantastic. Good. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in again to another episode of Time to Come Alive. Please stay tuned. Again, subscribe at www.timetocomealive.com if you want to make sure you get this interview and others in your inbox, or go to Connect to Joy on YouTube and subscribe to my channel there. Have a wonderful rest of the day, everybody.
Thank you.